All right, guys, welcome. We're back again for another great episode of Renew Your Finance. We thank you guys for joining us once again. We've been hyping this podcast session up for a while now. We've got a very special guest for you guys tonight. We have the owner of Kingdom Coin Stewardship on with us tonight, and we're looking forward to having her share her stories. We're going to do a question and answer tonight. So anybody watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe to be notified of when we have new podcasts come out. And without further ado, we're going to have Rondell introduce Miss Jackson, and we're going to get this thing going.
Hey, welcome everyone. We thank you again once joining us tonight. So we had the pleasure of Miss Jackson Luciana joining us tonight, and she's going to greatly bless us with her testimony. As we've started this journey, we told you that God pressed upon our heart to share what we have experienced with everyone that have may or may not have experienced what it takes to be debt free. And so to give you a little bit more substance on how that can happen and where you can come from being indebted into not being indebted, it was impressed upon my heart to invite my clear and close sister in Christ to join us tonight. So again, like I always said, you know, Luciana is when they talk about gazelle intensity, that doesn't even meet the speed that she goes at by any stretch of the means. She's always going at 100 miles per hour, not only with her family and friends, but also within the community. So tonight we welcome you, Luciana, and the platform is yours, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Rondell. Good evening, everyone. I send greetings to you all from Texas, where it is nice and rainy outside, but we are so grateful because now our grass is green again and not looking like hay fields. So welcome. And I hope that you guys are excited about tonight because I'm really, really prayerful and have been prayerful since they asked me to come and do this, that my story and my testimony will touch you all's heart and that it will really prick your heart to go in this direction of financial freedom. Like I mentioned earlier, none of this has been in vain. God really does use us to help each other. And so if I can wave a red flag and caution y'all not to go off the cliff, and you all can learn from my mistakes in finances and avoid some of the pitfalls that I have taken, then that's even better, right? There's no use in all of us going off the cliff. If some of us already have, let us warn you so that way you don't even have to take all of those detours. But nevertheless, I had to go that route in order to learn the lessons that I have learned from the Lord about how to steward my finances. And so, of course, my two brothers here, Adrian and Rondell, they were very, very diligent in doing what God had put on their heart to share the gospel where finance is concerned. And it has truly been a ripple effect. And I'm so grateful that my husband and I were in that ripple. That started back when we were in Germany together. Rondell and his family and mine, we were all stationed together there. And around the time of March of 2018, I had already been scrambling, trying to figure out a way to make my money stretch, I guess you could say, or make more money. I felt like I needed more money, but that's what we always think, right? When we're in trouble with our money, we think we just need more of it and that'll make it better. But the truth is, more money only makes you more of what you already are. So if you're not disciplined, if you are not frugal, if you're a big spender, if you're adding more money just makes you more of what you already are. And you'll get the additional money and then you'll still find yourself being broke, which is where I was at, broke. Okay. So I had a really great career and I was making well over 6 figures, but I was broke. And I'm sure you would say, well, how does that happen? Well, that's the majority of Americans, even pre-pandemic. That was at least 7 to 8 out of 10 houses on your street where you currently live. And it's probably worse than that now, unfortunately, where people make these large salaries, but they're broke because they have so many things that they are fitting into their paycheck. And so that's just to give you guys a brief snapshot of where I was at that time in March of 2018. I was still relatively newly married. I was a new mom. My son was only 6 months old, almost around that time. And I felt like if something were to happen to me on my job, that I probably would end up having to file for bankruptcy. To be honest, I didn't realize how vulnerable I was carrying around this much debt. My husband and I, this is another mistake you need to write down in your notes. My husband and I had never discussed finances before we got married. So he had his finance, I had mine. We never even knew how much debt each other had. We paid our own separate things, and this is how we were operating, y'all. And that was crazy, but I didn't know that at that time. So, however, I was looking for ways to increase my money, right? So I could get out of debt. And I was praying this to the Lord, but the Lord, he answered the prayer, but not in the sense of more money, but he sent me Rundell. Okay. So Rundell, not knowing my financial situation, had shared with me about Financial Peace University and Dave Ramsey. And man, if I tell you, when he planted that seed, it sprouted and it took off because I was already praying and asking for an outlet and answers. So it took on. And my husband and I, we went through FPU by ourselves, which was probably a good thing. Just do it at home and not with the group at the church, because Lord knows, once we got through that first video, I was just bawling in tears because I didn't realize how bad the debt was until you actually sit down and put pen to paper and you add up everything that you owe and you look at what you actually own and what assets you have, and you see a severely negative number. It is breathtaking, needless to say. And I did cry a lot. And so it was at this time that I also learned that my husband, this sucker right here, was pretty much debt free. Okay. He only owed just a few $1,000s in student loans, some that he could just reach over and pay off. And he had a nice amount of money saved. He had no debt. Okay. None. All right. So here I am sitting here, not just with a 6-figure salary, guys, but I also had 6 figures worth of debt that was not even including mortgage debt. So I was somewhere in that negative net worth neighborhood of around $250,000 if you add it all together. So we're just talking about revolving debt, credit cards, student loans, personal loans. That's just 6 figures by itself, cars, all that. But then a house as well, a rental property. So adding it all up together, like I said, if something were to happen to me, I would have had to file for bankruptcy. So it immediately set in how vulnerable I was. And so at that time, my husband and I had only been married. It hadn't even been 2 years yet. It had been a very brief period of time, but because he truly is a godsend and he is my person, when he saw this, he wasn't intimidated at all. He didn't cry like I did. He didn't run off or anything like that. He just was kind of like, hey, we got to get after it. Like, we got to pay this stuff off. So he rolled his sleeves up with me and we started the plan, and we set a goal, and we called it our 12-20-20 plan. So how the 12-20-20 plan was born is that at that time was going to be the future date that I would hit my 10-year mark as a civil service worker with the government. I was a federal agent for the Air Force, and that was going to be my 10-year anniversary date. And so one of the main motivations behind wanting, to get an increase in income and get out of debt is because I was growing weary in my career and I wanted to change and I wanted to leave that. And so we set that as our target date for March of 2018, that by the time we get to December the 20th of 2020, we're going to be debt free. So we set that goal. And then the hard part came. where you got to live the day to day because we got to pay this stuff off. Well, Luciana's day to day was real fabulous before this happened. Okay. To the tune of, when you go shopping for shoes, we can't just get one pair. We need the same pair of shoes, but in all the colors. Okay. Then we got to have hair. We got to have nails. We just can't rock the hair that grow out your scalp. You got to go get all this other hair so you can pay, $1,500 for specialized wigs and things like that. That was your girl. All right. That was me. Always looking rich, but I wasn't rich. Okay. I had a car that was $50,000, special made, had it built just for me in Germany. The whole ridiculous red bow unveiling at the dealership, just ridiculous. This was me. This was the life that I was living. And so, but at this point, being a new mom and wanting my freedom and wanting away from this career that I had once loved, but I had outgrown, it became more important that I was able to buy back my time than to drive this car, wear this certain hair, and have my nails done all the time and buy all these clothes and shoes. And so the Lord had truly transformed my heart, guys. Like, I had been really hungry for this. And it was literally just like a switch was flipped. So the next thing you know, your girl, she done stopped doing all of this. We not getting hair done, nails, none of that. Now we're going to keep ourselves up, but we're going to learn how to DIY it. Okay. That's what we're going to do. So I stopped with the hair stuff, the clothes, everything cold turkey. And the first priority that I wanted off of my plate is that car that I had, because I wanted to be able to create a bigger shovel because I had a big income, right? But I was like, I need to see more of my paycheck in order to be able to pay off this debt. So the first order of business was to sell the car. And who did we call to help us with that? Rondell. Yes, we did. Every time we were out of town or I was traveling for work, Rondell was your regular used car salesman. You hear me? He helped us get this car sold. He would literally go and help people do their test drive. He would help us change the ads that we had on different outlets. Rondell was going to help us get rid of this car. Okay. And he did just that. And so we were able to sell the car, not only to cover what we owed on it, but we also were able to get a $4,000 surplus that was very helpful in order to get that snowball really rolling. Okay. But we sell the car, then how your girl rolling? Let's talk about that. So my husband had a little Kia Spectra that we still have. It's sitting out in the driveway right now. Best $1,500 we ever spent. Okay. So me and him and our little baby, we shared this car for 14 months. Okay. Y'all let that sizzle in your spirit. 14 months. All right. We shared a car, a Kia Spectra. Okay. Not a new one. Not a new one. It was gently used though. So I couldn't drive the car and still can't because I don't know how to drive a standard, but I didn't care. So early in the morning time, we had to get up, get our baby dressed, and my husband drove me to work every morning and picked me up in the evening. We did this for 14 months, okay? Because we were getting out of debt. That's what we were doing. And so even when it came time for us to leave Germany in 2019, we came to America with that little car, which is why it's here. And we still didn't buy myself a car for about another 6 to 7 months. So I went without a car, guys, for a long time. That's something that I had never done since I was 16 years old. I had always been very independent, wanting my own wheels and all of that. So it was an absolute life change for me. When my mom came to visit and she realized that we had sold my BMW, she was just like, do y'all need some money? Are y'all okay? Is everything all right? And I told her that is exactly what we need is money, which is why the car is gone. But we're going to be okay because we're starting something new here and we're digging out. And she didn't really understand it at that time. Definitely not like she understands our journey now. But she was concerned because she saw her daughter just kind of change overnight, right? So we cut out the eating out and all of these things, and which was fun because, with Stephanie and Rondell on Sundays after church, we would have these awesome brunch sessions that last for hours. We end up eating brunch and sometimes dinner because we were together so long and we weren't eating out. So we would eat together, as family and friends, and we would hang out. So it was fine. Because we had a really good support group. And that's something that is important if you're on this journey. If people are not on the journey with you, they at least need to be able to be, supportive of you while you go through it. So that's what it looked like. And it took us 18 months in order to get all the debt gone that wasn't mortgage debt. It took us 18 months. And then on the other side of that 18 months, we had to save up to buy myself a cash car when we got here to the US. So when we got here, we continued to share a car. I drove my mom's car. I did whatever I had to do. And the reason why that lasted so long, I'm going to just be honest. So the budget in 2019, it started out at $3,000. I don't know if y'all have seen a $3,000 car and what that entails, but your girl just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. So I was like, all right, we're going to have to keep on sharing because this can't be it. This is not what the Lord has. And so 3,000 turned into 5,000. And we would go around and we would shop and it still wasn't working. Like I literally saw a car that someone I know they had been murdered in because I used to do blood stain pattern analysis. And I know for sure someone was killed in this car. And I was like, we can't do that car. So then I said, we got to up it, to about 10 to 15. So that's why we had to continue to do that, because a cash car is a cash car, but you got to be able to save all the cash, right? We just weren't going to finance anything, but we had to keep on saving because we just couldn't do it. Well, I couldn't. So anyway, we were able to finally get a car that was suitable for myself and for me to drive my son around in safely. And we were happy and it was good. We ended up selling the other house that we had, the investment property, so we could clear that debt, because one thing that we learned was that we were too broke to be landlords. We did not realize how vulnerable you can be owning a property that's not cash flowing very well. So we ended up selling the house, thanks be to God, in 2019 before the pandemic hit. I don't know what we would have done had we still had that house when 2020 rolled around, that particular one, because we had more than one. But see, my husband, the one he had, we weren't near as indebted on that one like we were on this one that I had. And so I was glad that we were able to get rid of that, because we didn't see the fact that, a pandemic happens and then now your tenants can't pay their rent. You have to pay that mortgage and you have to pay the mortgage or rent where you live. And if you're in debt, that doesn't work. It does not work. These investment properties are not a blessing to you when you own them that way. So we ended up having to overhaul all of that. And so once we got that level of freedom, I ended up hitting our deadline debt free. We had the cash car, everything was good. But because we were in the pandemic, I got a little bit scared, right, to leave my job. But I still really did want to go. But to be honest, when January came and the people was crawling over the wall, I quit the next day. Yeah, the next day. So it went from January of 2020 right into 2021. That's when I ended up leaving that January. And so it was perfect. It really was. So I was like a month delayed in resigning, but it was perfect. And I really thought that I didn't know exactly how we were going to make it. I really thought that there was going to be a struggle once I quit my job, contributing what I was contributing to the household, and then now having to just rely on my husband's income. I was very nervous about how we were going to make it. But the fact of the matter is, all the prayers that I had prayed to the Lord about my finances and about my career and what I really saw for myself as a mom, everything I had prayed for was something that was perfectly in God's will. And so when I left there and left the government in 2021, if I tell you, we have not missed a beat since then. We have not noticed that 6 figures worth of income has left our household. I can't even make that up the way that the Lord has provided, because finally, he looked at us and was just like, my son and daughter finally have this area of their lives under submission to me. And they have been faithful and they have done what they were supposed to do. My husband's business has been really striving and thriving since we got back here in 2019. He never has a dull moment. We have more than enough, and not having any debt, it just leaves even him with a lot of leisure in how he does his business. It leaves me with a lot of leisure of how I do my business. And it's just perfect, and needless to say, during our journey, I became obsessed with this. I really did. And so, aside from helping family members and friends and church members be able to get on this journey to also buy their time back and obtain their freedom, I started doing my coaching with my own clients even before I left the government. And now, since, I've departed from there, it's been over a year and a half now. This is all I do full time, is inspire people and show people this light at the end of the tunnel and how these things can be done. And, I of course have clients that have different motivations. Some want to just be debt free. Some want to leave a job. Some are moms who want to be able to stay at home with their kids. Some are people who want to be able to start a business, but it's for everybody. And now this is all that I do, and I love it. And, I was telling Rondell how over the last couple of months, my client, load had kind of gotten a little bit light because we took some vacations and things like that. But I was okay with it because I was enjoying myself. And it's one of those things where you can do a job or career because you really love it and you're passionate about it and you don't have to have the money. So when the client load may get light because you're doing other things, it's okay. It's perfectly fine. And I've never had this type of freedom ever before. And I never would have thought I would have gotten it in a encore type career. Because one thing that I did learn about myself is that I don't really like working for other people. And that was a journey that I had to learn, that was the truth about myself right after I left the government, because I went and I started working for a nonprofit agency doing coaching. I was doing financial coaching, and I worked for them for one exact year. So I left my job with the government and I started coaching full time with this nonprofit because I love coaching, right? That's all I want to do. But I quickly realized 3 to 6 months in that it felt workish. Okay. And I don't think I like workish. And I learned that about myself. See, I just want to coach people because I enjoy doing that, but I do not want to have to go to mandatory staff meetings. I do not want to have to go into the break room and sing happy birthday and eat cake when it's somebody's birthday that I don't know. I don't want to do that. I don't want to, do sensitivity training. I don't like that. And I know that sounds bad, but I don't want to do that. And so I really started to realize, okay, I don't have to do a job. I had security in working for someone for a very long time. And I realized that I could still survive and not actually work for someone. I'll be okay because we don't have this debt. We're managing our money. We can be, a two-person household income that literally only, lives off of, generating business income. It can be done and it's fine. Nobody has to have W-2s and W-4s. It's fine. And so I took, 6 months to figure that out. And then I tried to quit the job and they didn't want me to leave. So out of the benevolence of my heart, I stayed for 6 more months. And then at the end of that, I was like, look, I have to go. I must go. Like, this is not what I need to be doing. I love coaching, but I love doing it on my own terms. So I departed from there, and I do remain in touch and remain friends with them. I jump in on some of their podcasts and webinars and things like that. And they're a lovely group of people, and they're still helping people, and everything's wonderful. But at least now when I get off the webinar, I don't have to go and eat cake in the break room. And so I'm very happy. So yeah, so I have a lot of freedom. And one of the most important things that I feel like I enjoy is being able to be with my son. He's 4 years old. He's in pre-K. But when he's not at school, I get a chance to be with him and go and do things that I enjoy. When I was working my job, my mom and my aunt pretty much spent a lot of time at my home providing care for our son when we were away working, or if I had to travel overnight at a minute's notice and all of these sort of things. And so I missed out on a lot. Rondell knows that there was the time when my son turned 1 and I missed his birthday. Yeah, I missed his birthday, his first birthday, because they sent me from Germany back to the States to testify in a case. So I missed my son's first birthday. And it was things like that that further let me know that I was on the right track, trying to dig my way out of debt so I could have the freedom to choose. And so I thought to myself, I will never miss another birthday. Not going to do it. Not because I'm on some job trying to make money, because I owe so many people. One point that I do want to share with you all as well is that a lot of the times we think that we don't worship money, right? Because we're not rich, we're middle class or whatever, and we don't make all this money like some rich people, so we don't worship money, right? That's what we tend to think. But what I want you guys to think about is the fact that when you're in a lot of debt, you actually worship money more than anybody else, and definitely more than wealthy people, because you spend more time on a job, 50, 60, however many hours a week. You spend a lot of time thinking about money because you don't have enough of it. So you go to bed at night, you're crying about it, you're stressing about it, you're arguing with a spouse about it. Money is consuming you, and you are worshiping it because it is what you're focused on most of the time, right? And the Bible tells us that you cannot serve both God and money, because you'll love one and hate the other, right? If we spent as much time with the Lord as we do worried and focused on money, things would be completely different. And so in this journey, that was something that I learned, was that I had spent a lot of time worshiping money. Because every time my pay would increase, it would end up being a situation where I'm just going to go find something else to take the place of, what this extra money is doing. If it fits in my paycheck, I used to say that all the time to Rondell, like, if it fits in my paycheck, I can afford it, or so I thought. So I had spent a lot of time worshiping money. And now seeing the flip side of that, looking at how much time I get a chance to spend with my son and with my husband, and now with my mom and other relatives, now that we're back in our hometown area, it's like, it's amazing to me because I'm with them now. I'm not on some job, missing out on birthdays and only God knows whatever else, because I have to go and I have to do this job for X amount of hours in exchange for this money that I need to just pass out to all these creditors and stuff that I owe. So I realized that's what was happening. And it was heartbreaking. And so that's why I even further know that the Lord is pleased and that he wants us to get this under control, because the time that we're spending trying to pay for all this stupid stuff to impress people that we don't even really like, and they don't even really like us, we could be spending more time with the Lord, or doing the things that he intended for us to be doing in the first place. Because being my son's mom is definitely more important than being a federal agent for the government. Being here for my husband to be able to talk and to support him is definitely more important than me flying around the world, investigating all these different cases, right? I'm supposed to be here in this house helping build a family, because it goes from the family to the community to society. This is where it starts. But I wasn't able to do those things because I was outside of the home, and I was outside of the home a lot. So now, having all of this under control, my priorities are straight. They are definitely straight, and they're definitely in God's will. So this whole journey, guys, is going to be so much more than math It's going to be so much more than money. It is going to really show you a lot about your purpose being here on the face of this earth. It's just that it's unfortunate that a lot of people don't ever come to this realization, and they spend their entire lives chasing this money. And I really do think that's the reason why that money is one of the top two most talked about topics in the Bible, because the Lord knew we would struggle with it, and he knew we would get it all messed up. But if we actually listen to what the word says and apply these principles and these tools that, Financial Peace and other programs have, and we actually grasp this and let it become a lifestyle and a mindset change, it changes so much other stuff about your life, more than just your finance. It's not about being rich. It's not about that at all. Even though, you'll still inadvertently become an everyday millionaire. I'm pretty sure we got some on here already. I'm looking at two. I'm trying to get there with them. And, it's like you still get so much of your life back besides the money, and you get a chance to experience and explore some things that God has already set aside for you if you would just take this journey, because it changes everything, and it allows you to get focused on so many other things that he wants you to. And so if I can encourage you guys to do it for any reason, that would be the primary reason, because you have to have a why behind you about why you want to get your money in order in the first place. And let your why motivate you when you're standing in the store and you're thinking about buying the shoes and all the colors. Think about all the possibilities. Think about all the things that God really wants to show you and the legacy he wants to help you to lead for your family. Because there really is so much more. And it's hard to make you guys understand, but it's true. It really, really is true. And you got to get on this journey in order to really be able to see it. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell. There were many ups and downs, and it was not always easy. And there were a lot of tears, and there was a lot of sacrifice, but I didn't stop because I wanted to be free. I wanted to be free. And now sitting here as a free person, not enslaved, like the Bible tells you you are when you're indebted, it feels really good. It really does feel good. It is just, it's mind blowing. I feel like, worst come to worst, if the stock market crashed and all of our investments are gone, I could literally just mow lawns and keep up with our expenses. And I ain't gonna mow those every day because I don't want it to be workish. Okay. So that's my testimony. That is it.
Oh, Luciana, you have truly blessed everybody here tonight. This has been awesome. This has been just really awesome. And one of the things that you said that I wanted to bring back up was when you got all of the debt written down and you saw how much you had in front of you. I talked to a few people, and that was very disheartening for them. And when they saw how much debt they have, and for me, if somebody had asked me what we were able to do in the amount of time that we saw all the debt that we had, because me and Deshauna, we had over $200,000 worth of debt, between everything with the mortgage, ours included the mortgage. But I would have never thought when I started this program that we would even be able to even scratch the surface on paying off that much money. And I tell people all the time that I know that it was God that got involved with this, and really it had to be him in order for us to accomplish what we did. And I know that it was in line with his will. So can you tell us a little bit about how you overcame that hurdle to get started once you saw how much debt you had? Because a lot of people see that number and they get discouraged.
Absolutely. So I'm so glad that you asked that, because when I start with my new clients for like the first and second session, we really don't even get a lot into math and budgeting and go right in. We actually do an exercise that I have created that's separate from anything Ramsey related. It's like a money mindset type exercise. And one of the first things I want them to do is add up all the debt so they can see this astounding number. And I think that it is something very healing about seeing that number and really letting it sink in, because that is what I feel like had me 100% sold on the journey when I started. To see it all on paper and to cry the way that I did and to feel embarrassed and to feel ashamed and all of this stuff, it had to happen. It had to happen. I really do think that there is something spiritually refreshing about that part. And that is what it takes, because sometimes God really needs to take you to a rock bottom moment in order to build you back better. He has to. And so when you see the number, it is not to make you throw in the towel, but it's to make you say, oh, Lord, how did I get here? How did I get here? What has been my thought process? What has been my behavior? What is it that I'm trying to prove to the world? What is it? And really have that soul searching moment with that number. And, you know, I like to see the emotion that my clients have when they see the number, because no one ever sits down and adds it up. I can't even remember really having a client that had ever added it up before coming to see me. And so we typically find out together. And so don't let it discourage you, but listen to what it is that the Lord has to say to you about it. Because a lot of these things that we have accumulated, a lot of the time, we're trying to fill some other type of void or need or validation. And that's how we got there in the first place. And we have to be able to see the error of that so we won't go back there. Because it's our mindsets that got us there. Because one thing that's always going to be right, the calculator going to always be right. The budget is going to always be right. Now, just because the budget shows you a surplus, a deficit, or a break even, it don't make it wrong. It's just a temperature gauge to show you where you're at. That's what it show you. So you can't get mad at the budget and the calculator, but get mad at your mindset that got you there. That's really what you have to look at. So set that number up in a place where you can see it all the time. So when you get ready to walk out that door and go out to eat because you say you don't have no food, peek in your office, wherever you got that number written down, that $260,000 or $190,000. When you looking there at that number, you're going to feel some type of way. And then you're going to turn around and tell the family, no, we ain't going nowhere. I know it's some sardines in there, some. And we're going to get them sardines out. We're going to get these crackers out, because you see this number right here? It's a reminder of what got us into this place, because it's a mindset, because no one doesn't really have anything to eat, right? We say that because it's either frozen, it's not cooked, or it's just not what you're craving. But that doesn't translate into, I don't have anything to eat. You will learn to eat what you have, because this number you got hanging in your office on the wall, you want that gone. You want that gone.
And one thing we did was we actually put ours on the refrigerator. Our numbers were on the refrigerator. So we saw it every day. If we had guests come over, that day was like, what's this? I was like, that's what we're working on. We working, you know, we wore it as a badge.
You better know it. And the psychology behind it is tremendous, y'all. I mean, it turned me into a whole nother person. It really did. I mean, you going through the house, you slapping off lights. You like, I don't know what y'all got all these lights on for, and y'all better cut them dry sheets in half, because we're not getting no more. I mean, you see that number and you feel some type of way. You do. You feel some type of way. You have to put that at the forefront of your mind, because it's your mindset that has to change. It's a mindset thing.
So, Luciana, you said early in your testimony that you have to have that support system. Now, I remember the day that you took off like a rocket. It was infectious to you, of the new knowledge that you have learned, and you started sharing that knowledge with your family. How did your family receive you when you first started to? Because I remember when your first family members started visiting after you have changed your mindset. I remember Mom came to Germany, and then I believe there was some other friends and family started visiting at the same time, because we was in a centralized place for tourism. And, you know, they were used to coming in, we were, you know, country hop, so to speak. But after you change that mindset, and now your family is starting to come into that same environment, that you and Nolan are creating for yourselves and for Cam also. How did they receive that when they started noticing that, okay, the environment that we're accustomed to, that we're used to, has obviously changed now that we see that there's a new environment that has been established here?
I think, everybody's initial reaction was concern, because that was my mama's like, what's happening? Y'all need some money, like what's going on? So the initial reaction was concern. But after sharing with them what we were going through, it became very supportive. It really did. And I really didn't have any family members that were naysayers for what we were doing. And then you would be surprised at how pretty much everybody, new friends, family that would learn about it, they would be like, man, I really need to do something like that myself, or gosh, I'm in this kind of financial situation, and they would share that, they thought that this was a good thing, so when they would come and visit, and you remember Mimi came and we told her about it. That sister right there, she done already took off. Have her on your show if you're going to have a single mom night, because you can do it as a single mom, one income, all that good stuff. And, and we shared it with her, and she is just light years from where she started and caught on fire with this. So, the reactions were different, but everybody was overall supportive, and nobody ever was like, oh, you can go ahead and do this. Why can't we just go ahead and take this flight over here or stay over here however many nights? There was none of that. People were respectful, and there were a lot of times, like Dalvin and other relatives would come and visit, and we wouldn't even go anywhere with them. We were just kind of like the central hub, and they would go and do their thing and come back. And we were like, we're not going because we on a budget, but we'll watch our bags and stuff. If y'all want to pack a light bag, leave this stuff here, we'll be here. So they were really supportive. And since we've been back home here with everyone, and not, isolated, with our main support group like you all, it has been times where family has really come out and they're like, we're in crisis mode financially, and we could really use your help. And I've been able to kind of pour into them. But at the same time, I also have some family members who I have thrown a raft, I done sent a boat, I sent a helicopter, and they drowning. And because they haven't had their own kind of enough, and they haven't had their rock bottom moment yet. They just hadn't had enough of it yet. They're still in that false sense of security where it's bad, but it ain't that bad because I'm gonna go get these rims and tires, and it hurts, but I have really learned, with my family, and it hurts more when it's family, right? Because you want them to thrive. But I have learned that everybody has to have their rock bottom, I've had it moment. You have to finally have something that you love more than being in this cycle of financial dysfunction. You have to have something that you love more, or something you want your freedom from, and when people don't have that, they just stay in it. They just stay in this cloud, and you can only do so much to try to, inspire and motivate them. So the reactions have been varied, but overall they have been supportive of us. And especially now, because they see that, I don't have no regular job like they do. And Nolan ain't got no regular job. And they like, now both of y'all ain't got no regular job, and y'all child, he go to a private school, and they might say that we deal in drugs. I don't know what they say. I don't know. So, but they see that something is happening. And, Nolan's sister and her husband, for instance, they were another example of family that we shared it with that just took off. They ended up paying their house off before we did. And we was like, wait a minute now we hey, how you gonna pass us up?
Right.
So they paid their home off before we did. And so it's nice to be able to spend time with them and, go on trips together and let our kids grow up together and do things together because we're all like-minded, on that page.
That's awesome.
And that has been wonderful.
So this is not, I would tell you, everyone on the call, this is not age specific. Luciana, I remember I want to say that's your aunt, your mom's sister. She came visit and she was watching Cam for and you got her on the program.
That's right.
How is she? So how is she doing now? Ever since that you have assisted her, and I want to say she was in her 60s when she started this program.
She was in her 70s, and she will be
okay.
77 in October. And she got that pension right. You hear me? She got them coins together. That Social Security is looking real good. We actually just talked about it yesterday when I was down there, because she was telling me about her light bill, because she's like I was going through there slapping them lights off, and she got that thing dialed in. But she was definitely at a deficit on her fixed income and worried and concerned. And so when she was with us in San Antonio, she asked me to show her how to start budgeting and save and get her money right and manage better. And she's been doing phenomenal, doing a great job. And I'm very proud of her because, you know, I've mentioned to you before, I have clients who are her age and older that are contemplating and already have re-entered the workforce. Definitely.
Amen. It's good to hear that.
Yeah.
And so from my understanding, based upon our conversation, that God has led you and Nolan to take another journey or another step in this path of financial freedom with your local church. Could you share that with us? What are you and Nolan about to go embark on?
Absolutely. So, you know, I've always led financial peace classes for just, you know, the general public, just anyone. But we're about to do our first financial peace class at our local church that we are members of. It's also the same church that my son attends school at. And so it starts on September 11th. This will be an in-person class. This will be our first time being back in person hosting the classes since all the pandemic fallout, of course, because we've been mostly virtual and online. So we'll be back in the classroom. It's going to be exciting. And so we'll be doing a class that'll start. And of course, it'll be 9 weeks. It's just a regular Financial Peace University class for our church. And we're excited about that for sure.
Amen.
One thing I wanted to ask Luciana, I know we're coming up on the last few minutes of the session here, but I wanted you to just let people know if they wanted to reach out to you personally, they like your personality, they want to find out or do a consultation with you and just find out where they are. Can you provide them with your contact information or how they can reach out to you?
I sure can. Let me put it right here, and you guys can just.
And we will share this on our page as well.
Absolutely.
When we post this video. But yeah, this has been awesome. The one thing that you said, you know, like I've told, you know, so many people about this, and it's almost to the point that, you know, the news is so good that you want to share it with everybody. But like I told Rondell, you know, I've talked to a lot of different people and they start out good and then they go right back to the same habits they had before. Or they say, you know, that's good, but I'm going to live my life. I'm going to, you know, I work too hard to limit myself or not be able to do stuff right now. And what I tell people, I said, you're not limiting yourself. You know, there's a season. God says in the Bible, there's a season for everything. So right now is not your season. We never said you couldn't have these things. We never said you couldn't have the BMW. You couldn't have the nice home. But the Bible says when the Lord thy God blesses you, you know, you will be a lender to many and a borrower from none. So that means when God blesses you, it's not going to come with the attachment of debt to it. It's not going to come to where it's keeping you up at night. So there's a difference between a blessing and a curse. A curse is something that worries you. A blessing is something that you get to enjoy and there's no worry or stress attached to it. So I think that's where we get, you know, it misconstrued. And I think the main thing that I tell Rondell, we came up with the phrase, you know, this information is for everybody, but it's not for everybody, you know, because, you know, most people are not going to see things the way we see it, but it's so beneficial. Yeah. And and we just, like I said, we just thank you for everything. And and yeah. So Rondell, did you want to open this up to everybody, see if anybody on the call had any questions directly for Luciana while we have her here? Because you guys, she's off. You all can tell why we were so excited to have her on our show today. And Luciana, I'm gonna put this out before I forget. Anytime that you want to join us on the podcast, you are our honorary co-host on the show. Anytime you say, you know, this Monday I want to join the guys and just see what's going on, feel free to drop in on us any Monday you automatically, as soon as you log in, you're going to be made a co-host on it. So anything you want to
I
present to the group or
that.
show the group or anything, you got just as much reign as anybody, as me or Rondell or anybody on here. So, so we just want to say that.
I will throw a disclaimer out there to the people on the chat and those who may watch this later. Now, know what you asked for. Okay. She's up here and we start talking about finances and, and then some shenanigans fall out. I mean, this one here will steer you back straight. There's no governor when it comes back to steer you back straight when it comes down to Luciana. But I assure you, is all in love. But yes, we definitely want to open it up to anyone that may have some direct questions for her, because obviously, her calendar does get busy and it's mostly filled with, supporting Nolan and being there for her son, and also doing the things that God has placed upon her heart, like being in our local church. So please take this opportunity to ask her some questions that you just have on your mind, and based upon her testimony, you just want to ask that question.
And I this is Karen. So nice to meet you.
Yes.
I don't have a direct question. I'm just like kind of bubbling inside because I'm just like super excited about all of this, and your testimony, your story is just so inspirational. So I just want to thank you for taking the time to share it with us. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, Miss Karen. I appreciate that. And that's what I was hoping for. That's what I had prayed for, that people's hearts be pricked and they be inspired, because God does that part. And I knew that everybody that was intended to be on this call would be, because He orchestrates all that. I just go because He sends me. And so that is confirmation of yet another answered prayer. I really appreciate that. I love this stuff, you all. I do. It changes everything. It does. So I appreciate that.
Yes. All right. Did anybody else on the call have a question tonight for Luciana? Or just wanted to give a statement in general, if you didn't have a direct question. But like I said, we're wide open here. So.
And it can be specific. If y'all have specific questions, it can be anything.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey. So I love my BMW and I love blue. How did you let go of that so easy? Because you had a certain lifestyle that you had created for yourself, right, and you had just gotten that car. So for you to change so quickly, what did that feel like, look like for you?
So, and just to be, and I'm so glad you asked. Hello, ma'am, by the way. And so I was desperate. That's really the word that comes to mind. And when we were looking at our budget, and listing out all of our expenses, underneath our house payment was the car note. It was like almost $900. Okay. And so it was like, this has to go. And it was a big hunk of the six figures, not including the mortgage. And I wanted to be able to pick up pace and to speed up the process. And so it was a no-brainer for me out of desperation, because, having a decent income already and getting rid of, what we owed on the car as a total, but also getting that money to come back into the household to start snowballing that towards my student loan debt, and personal loans and stupid credit cards. It was like, it was going to help us get traction much quicker. And so it was a no-brainer. Like, it had to go. Yeah, that really is what it was. Like, I could have cared less what people thought, and I didn't care. I didn't care because, people asked. They were like, girl, where's your BMW? They were like, what's going on? Or I guess we're going to take my car because you ain't got no car. It was that kind of thing, but it was fine. It was fine. I mean, there were times where Stephanie would come and pick me up, and me, her, and, Shirley, we go to different things because girl didn't have no car. Not that I could drive. Nolan could only drive it. I couldn't even drive it. It was desperation. And it felt good to be able to see, you know, the balance on the other things go down a lot faster because we have that income back again. And so instead of going out on the weekends looking rich, it became mine and Nolan's favorite thing to do is to get paid and get on the computer and pay some debt. And I like to keep it in even
That was
numbers.
me.
Like I was excited. I was excited. And I would get so mad when they would tack that interest on and you log in and it was an even 6,000. Now $6,021.53. I'm like, and I would make payments just to round it back off, just to round it back off, you know. And I became obsessed with that because I wanted out of debt. I did. So,
Yeah.
so it was desperation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I do have one question I want to ask you real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So the people that are in debt, they know they have a problem, but they are afraid of what other people are going to think or say about them. A lot of people don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want people to think that they don't have money, when in reality is they don't have money because they overspent what they had. What do you say to those people to get them to realize that, hey, I have a problem and, you know, that needs to be addressed, but I can't worry about what everybody else will say?
Definitely. I really do think that is like a very huge spiritual thing for people a lot of the time, because again, it's showing that we're seeking for validation, you know, in things and people that don't matter. And I know like the spiritual growth through this journey is just indescribable because again, a lot of these things that we do it trying to get the approval of others that don't matter when we should be doing things for the audience of one, right? Just this one. And I think so it causes you to have to really look inward at what is making me feel this way, that I have to have these things. And so I think for Nolan and I, like my husband, you know, Adrian and Rondell, they know my husband is a country black cowboy. Y'all got to know that he don't care what nobody think.
Amen.
About nothing. And for him, and that's probably why he had money and I didn't. But it was like, because he didn't care what nobody thought. But you know, he almost makes it fun, like it's a game almost, you know, to kind of live like paupers or look like you're a pauper, but you actually have some money. He enjoys that. He has old farm pickup trucks. He's never had a new truck in his life ever. Okay. But he enjoys the attention that his old loud farm trucks get. People ask him about it. People want to buy them as crappy as they are. It's just crazy. And he enjoys that, you know, he enjoys that. And he wears the same set of overalls pretty much all the time. And he's just, he doesn't worry about that. He really doesn't, because he's so comfortable and so sure of himself. His validation comes from what the Lord thinks of him and what I and Cam think of him. Even his dad, you know, his parents kind of struggle with their finances. Needless to say, it's not good, right? And so different things will happen with Nolan's trucks, and he'll just get it fixed and he'll do whatever. And his dad will be like, son, you need to just get you another truck. You need to just, you know, blah, 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 and do this. And I don't even know why you fool with that or whatever, you know. And then, you know, Nolan will just kind of come back with something like, okay, yeah, I could do that though. But, you know, kind of where you at with your situation, with your trucks. Is it holding up? Because I saw that your truck was broke down just like my truck. But when my truck broke down, all I had to do was pay for the repairs. And you had to pay for the repairs, the insurance, and the truck note. I ain't trying to do none of that. I ain't trying to do none of that. Okay.
No,
and so
wow.
my truck is the same as your truck because your truck is newer, but it still break just like my truck. But I don't have all these expenses, you know, and trying to point these things out to people that truck, the newer one, still gets you from point A to point B, just like this old truck, you know, and he enjoys it, you know, and I enjoy it. I don't care what anyone thinks. And we really had to downsize When we moved from San Antonio, we really did downsize. We didn't go and saddle ourselves with some ridiculous mortgage, and have some house that's $500,000 starting from square one. Our tenants left. The last property that my husband already had that we owed just a little bit on, they moved out and we moved in. We went from 3,500 square feet down to 1,800. It's real different, y'all. It's real different. But that's what we did. And we had a storage, and we had the storage for about 6 months, because we were thinking that we were going to leave this house and go to Forney, Texas. But when we got here and we found my son's school and we were so comfortable, we were like, we're not leaving. We're staying. We're going to make this little old house work. So we emptied that storage. We had a 2-week long garage sale, me and my mom and my aunties, and we had fun doing it. We sold all that stuff, and what we couldn't sell, we gave it away. If you came to our garage sale, you bought one thing, you got 15 things free, and we got rid of that stuff. And we put what we wanted in this little house, and our little house is cute and cozy, and now, thanks be to God, it's paid off. And we're happy, and we're not finna leave this little house. It's small,
Yeah.
but we finna be in here
Exactly.
though. This is
Amen.
yeah, this is
Amen.
it.
That is awesome.
We don't care
That
what
is
people
awesome.
think, and and
I
like
will
I
give a
said,
shout out to Nolan though. I will give a shout out to Nolan because Nolan made mention, he said, he like, Ryan, I've been telling her this for a long time. And I like,
exactly. Oh, he had.
I like,
had.
what?
Mhm.
He like, yeah. I like, oh, you're not, because I asked him, I said, you're
Yeah.
not mad that I share this, with her. Like,
Mm-mm.
he like,
wasn't
dude,
mad.
by hook, by crook. I don't care how
Mhm.
she get it. I don't care how we
Long
get
as
it.
she
As
get
long as
it.
we got it.
You're exactly right. And I
Amen.
finally saw it his way. And to those of you that are on this call that are married, do it together with your spouse for
Amen.
sure. You have to help each other through it. My husband has been such a tremendous blessing through all of this, because he could have just been like, girl, I didn't know you had all that. I'm gonna have to go. But he didn't do that. Yeah, he didn't do that. It's been a blessing.
Luciana, real quick, because you said something that we talked about on one of our previous sessions. How do you handle when one spouse wants to get started with this, but the other spouse is in a different place? How do you address that with some of your clients?
Gotcha. Well, client wise, if they both don't sign the agreement and they don't start, I personally won't coach them. Some coaches may, but I don't. The only people that I take on under separate contracts are people who are dating each other or engaged, because you do run a separate route, and I will coach you together as a couple in the same session, but you're going to have independent budgets. You're going to have independent coaching agreements, because we don't do that whole commingling the finances if we don't have a contract, because that's not playing good offense and defense with our money, because we don't have no guarantee. We're not going to be paying off people debt that we're not married to. Okay, because you might run off, and we can't have that. So, if I have a couple, like that, and I have people that are dating, and there are going to be people like that are, in the financial peace classes, but they all have to be independent. But when it is a married couple and one person wants to do it and one does not, unfortunately, I won't start with them until they're both willing to do it, because I don't want to waste one person in the couple's time or my time, because it's counterproductive to be trying to, okay, girl, we're going to try to work this budget. I know your husband ain't going to give you no money on it, or you have to do this, and they not talking together, and one got one account and one has this other one, and one's got an allowance, and just, I've heard it all. It's not productive. And then the other thing about it is, because this is God's thing and he created this whole money system, it's not going to be blessed like you would hope either.
Right.
It's going to be very
Amen.
counterproductive. And so
Yes.
I don't coach married people individually. I don't do that.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
some coaches
Okay.
may, but I don't.
Okay. That's a great answer. Yeah, because we talked about that, and we told people that, it's hard. It's you're not gonna your chances of success are limited.
Right.
If you try to do this by yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that I think we're at our time, and we've gone over a little bit, but Luciana, like I said before, and I meant this from the bottom of my heart, anytime that you want to come on here with us
I appreciate
and
it.
join us at any time at all, I know they get tired of hearing just the men all the time, you know, so we love to have the women's perspective, and everybody on the channel will be able to see it from, you know, a woman's perspective. I know DeShonda chimes in a lot. Karen helps us out a lot, giving us her side of it as she's going through this journey. So we always want to have that nice balance and have, you know, the woman's perspective, so people, you know, can relate to what we're trying to do here. And like I said, this channel was started, like I said, because God had been pressing me for a year, and I didn't start the channel out of fear. I said, you know, I had every reason that little voice that you're supposed not to follow was talking in my ear, telling me every reason why I shouldn't do this. Nobody wants to hear this. Nobody's going to talk about finances. You're just wasting your time. Nobody's going to be on the channel. Right. Yeah. And it was fear. And it was fear. And that's what really, and I got over that fear because I was in Ross. Ross is my family's favorite store. That's a plug to Ross. That's where we do all of our shopping.
Yes, Lord.
Yeah, because if they ain't got it in the day I go in there, they're going to have it the next time I go in there. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah,
So
you should go. I go with my
but yeah.
mom on Tuesdays to get senior discount. Okay.
Oh, okay. But yeah, but this is what I found in Ross. I don't know if everybody can read this, but this says it says, let your faith be bigger than your fear. And when I saw this sign, that's exactly what I needed to see, that had me to start, you know, to go out on faith and start this thing. God said, you go, don't matter if you know what you're doing or not, just go and I will bless this and you will see what I have planned for this. So, and like I said, I went to Rondell. As soon as I told Rondell said, let's do it. And we were off and running. I mean, we sat upstairs in one of his in his wife's office and we did our first video. We had no clue what we were doing.
Yeah.
You know, so we sat there like we sat there. We didn't know any kind of presence. We sat there on a little love seat, sat beside each other with the camera in front of us, and we just started talking. So it's just been a blessing that we've gotten to this point. And we have you here with us, and it has blessed us the way you have. So with that, Rondell, do you have anything you want to say in closing?
I just want to thank you, Luciana, for spending time with us. I do understand, and I'd like to thank your husband and your son for allowing them to give us some white space so you can bless us with your testimony, answer the questions that people may have in regards to the journey that you have traveled and the journey that you continue to go on. Again, I echo the same sentiments that Adrian put out there. You are always welcome to join us. Your light and your energy is always welcome within this platform. Please join us again when you feel compelled or the white space makes itself available in your calendar, because I truly believe that, you know, what God does, you know, how he's able to use something as Dave Ramsey teachings and how it's being a blessing to touch multitude, as long as we keep it in the perspective that is designed to be kept in, you know, from a friend at Adrian's job that shared it with him, and then he shared it with me, and then I shared it with you, and then it's like a spider web from that standpoint, where you shared it with your families to the point where you just had gazelle intensity and you just took off and stopped becoming a coach, and then everybody was going to submit up under the Luciana Kingdom Coins. Yeah, it's a straight submit. I'm telling you that right now. And so until the point where we're now stepping out on faith and going out and trying to share this knowledge with everyone else who truly, like you just said in your testimony, being free, not being enslaved. So thank you once again for joining us tonight. Thank your husband, thank your son. We really appreciate your presence, and hopefully we'll see you again on the channel.
You will. I will come again. You guys are so very welcome. And don't let the enemy stop y'all from doing what you're doing. What you do, it makes a difference. I appreciate you guys.
Yes.
And Godspeed to you all on the call.
Thank you.
And thank you for the nice compliments and kind words in the chat. I see them all. I appreciate it. You guys go and get your inheritance. God has so much for you. Go and get your stuff. Okay?
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
All right, guys.
Y'all have a good
and
night.
like I said, we're gonna all right, you guys have a great night, and we'll see. I was gonna say, and guys, we'll post Luciana's contact information, so if anybody wants to reach out to her directly, And we'll also post a link to
Absolutely.
her page as well, where you can have that information. But once again, thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you. We'll be back to our Monday schedule next week. So we'll see you guys Monday at 7:00 p.m. You guys have a nice
Amen.
night.
All right. Good night,
Thank you.
everyone.
Be blessed,
All right.
everybody.
Have a good evening.
All right. All right. Bye.